All right, so in this lesson, we want to do a quick review of the subjunctive. The subjunctive is a very important form in Pashto. It's used a lot, but as Lingdok said, it's often ignored by English-speaking learners because we don't really have anything like it in English. I want to emphasize, though, that you can learn the subjunctive, and once it kind of clicks, it'll actually come really naturally and really easy. So I'm going to let you read the Lingdok's explanation here. You can read all the way down here. But I just want to highlight a few things. First of all is, so far in the present simple tense, we've used the imperfective stem. And actually, sometimes we may have called it imperfective present, or present simple. All those is the same thing. So, for example, ze likum, I am writing. Ze likum, I am writing. Another example, let me see. Oh, ze waham, I am hitting. Ze scum, I am drinking. That's all using this imperfective stem. The subjunctive tense uses the perfective stem. So you'll notice for most verbs, all that we're doing is adding an u. Okay, for regular verbs, that's all you do. So ze likem, I am writing. To use the subjunctive form, we just say ze wulikem. That's it. It's really easy. Ze wulikem, and that's the subjunctive form. We'll talk about how to translate that in a second. I won't translate that. But notice, instead of ze waham, I am hitting, we say ze wuwaham. That's the subjunctive form. Instead of ze scum, I am drinking, we say ze wuskum. That's the subjunctive form. Okay, now what's tricky is one of the most common verbs, kowel, actually is irregular in its perfective stem. So we say like ze kar koam, but for I am working. But then if we wanted to say, again, we'll translate it in a second, but if we wanted to use the subjunctive form, then we'd have to say ze kar wukram, actually. Because, sorry. Okay, that's not a good example for this. Sorry, let me say the okay, we'll say I make you sad. We would say ze ta chafa koum, I am making you sad, or ze ta chafa kram. That's a good example of the subjunctive form. Sorry. We'll talk about this later, but the reason why the first example I said didn't line up is because there's actually, grammatically, there's kind of two versions of this verb kowel. So kar kowel uses the other version that this is not a picture of. But hafa kowel, meaning like to make someone sad, uses this version. So sorry if that was a little confusing. Okay. But the key thing I want you to realize is in your dictionary, if you want to know the subjunctive form of any verb, just look at the perfective stem and add the correct ending, right? So, kadam, I, kore, you, kri, he, she, or they. So those are still the same, but we're just going to use this stem, okay? So that's how you make the subjunctive. Okay, then another thing I want to highlight is like when do you use the subjunctive? Now he has some examples of should or shouldn't, possibility, purpose. You can read those, but I'll tell you the thing that is kind of a cheat for me is the subjunctive is used with subordinate clauses. So basically, let me give you a few examples. Basically, anytime you see this word che, kideshi che, hasena che, umedbaram che, zagwaram che, pakar de che, if the first part of the sentence has a phrase and then che comes, most likely in the second part of the sentence you'll also use the subjunctive with a lot of the time with the common phrases you use. Now that's not always the case, especially as you get more complex, but it's kind of a cheat roll for now. So I've pulled out a couple really common phrases here, and I'll show you with some of these verbs we've already talked about. So for example, if I said I want to write, che. Now, at first we're tempted to say likum, I want to write, but this is really I want that I am writing. That's not really what we want to say. We want to say I want to write. So we say che likum. It means I want to write. Okay? Bayat, meaning like you must. Okay, so a teacher is telling a student you must write. To bayat ulike. Alright? So again, you already know the form like, and all we're doing is just adding an u at the beginning. Alright? Kideshiche, so maybe, this is, it could be, or maybe, it could be that she writes. Right, so maybe you're talking about someone's education and you don't know if, they often say like they can read or write, right? So maybe she writes, or maybe she, yeah, we'll use that for now. So again, you might be tempted to write liki, but the correct form is just uliki, so just adding that u at the beginning, okay? So that's a little cheat, okay? Now, one other thing I'll highlight in this video, though, is that sometimes you'll see it not used with one of these phrases or after a che, and in that case, the best way to translate it is with should or shouldn't. So in English, we have this word should or shouldn't that we add in order for it to mean that. But in Pashto, they don't do that. Instead, they just use the subjunctive, and then when you use the subjunctive, and it's not, again, it's not a part of a subordinate clause, it's just plain. So for example, ze wachlam, and here ye means it in this sentence. So it should take wachlam. Okay, now the take is also a little bit irregular in that it's not the o, because achlam begins with the a, so it's a little how the o mixes with the a turns it into a wachlam. Okay, but that's the subjunctive form. So should I take it? Ze wachlam. Okay, harade rashi. He should come. He should come. So this is razi. Razi, if you've learned that, he is coming. The subjunctive form is rashi. Rashi. So it is a little irregular. You don't just add an u. Okay, but here's a great one. Dodai wuhuru. So if you say dodai huru, that means we are eating food. If you say dodai wuhuru, it means should we eat food. So the just adding that double o, just adding the subjunctive form changes the meaning of the sentence from we are eating to, should we eat, or we should eat, or should we eat. Most of the time, and from my experience, when the subjunctive form is used like this, it's often used to ask, like, should we do something? Should I do this? Should I not do this? So it's often used in a question form. Okay? Honestly, so look at some of the other examples. Don't get too confused because, in my opinion, some of the examples can be really confusing at the beginning because they use like more advanced grammar than what we studied and things. But just maybe take a glance at it. But the main thing, take a glance at it, but then don't get stuck if you're like, oh, I really am not understanding what's going on. Just kind of skip over it. But then the last thing I want you to do is come down to these two practice and test. So first, write the subjunctive verb 1. It's going to use one verb. So you click practice. It has likel. So what I want you to do is just practice making the form. So notice we have it translated we should write. So mu, u. So make sure you add the u. And then li, gu. Okay? And then look, I got it correct. Okay? Now if you forget the perfective stem, just click here on the show roots and stems, and then you can see the perfective stem, and you just have to do that and add the correct ending that goes with the pronoun. So hara, I can't say ulikam, right? Because ulikam is I, but hara is he or she, or in this case, she. I just know that from the translation. So I have to say uliki, okay? And then I say I got it correct. Okay, so go ahead and do that a couple times till you get comfortable. Then go ahead and try to test yourself, right? And then we have our timer here, so you can go through it and try to test to ulike, taso ulike, ze ulikam, khaze uliki, muliku, taso ulike. Oops. Oh, okay. Thought I might have misspelled that. Okay. Until you can get all the way to the end. Okay. And then, lastly, come down to the subjunctive verb mix. So it's the same exact thing, but it's going to use different verbs, not just all lika. So here's especially where this part will come in really handy. It's to show roots and stems to see what the perfective stem is. But I want you to show you whatever the verb is, if you just take the perfective stem and put on the correct ending, it will work. So I take the perfective stem, uhor, just from right here, and I throw on the right verb ending for hagoi. So that's I, uhori, and then it's correct. Okay, so it's really that easy. So one thing now, though, when you have some verbs like waham, is we don't just say he hit, we say he hit him, right? So we have an object as well. So just pay attention. Use the English translation to help you. Like he should hit the teacher. Well, that's a great sentence. So wa. So I'm taking the perfective stem, and then it's the third person, right? He, third person singular. So uwahi. And that's it. So do that, and then after you get comfortable, then go ahead and do the test and see how far you can get with this. Okay. Now, the goal with this game, right? You're just really practicing the form, like forming the verb. But then after this lesson, what I really want you to focus on is, as you're with your friends and everything, try to say a few sentences. About like what you want to do, right? I want to go to the store. Zagwaram che dukan ta. And then you're like, so it's not zum, that's what I want to say. So pull up your dictionary. Right, and I can look up to go. Oh, this might be a hard one to look up actually, because there's tlel is the verb, okay? And then you can look at the basic verb tense. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Just look at the roots and stems chart here. So we have imperfective stem, perfective stem, lard, sh. Okay, so that's great. So I'm going to take that. So goram che dukan the lard sham. Right? I want to go to the store. Great. How would you say the waram che? I want to like do talkings with you, right? Khabare. The waram che. We could say sta sara. Okay, there's a sandwich there with you. Khabara. And then I could look up. Well, I don't know how to say the subjunctive form. So khabara. Kowel. Oh, sorry. Khabara. Well, okay, and then I see ukram. So, sorry, I misspelled khabara. Khabara ukram. Shestasara khabara ukram. Okay, so again, I just took the perfective stem and did this. Okay, let me know if after the video you have any questions, but go ahead and with your friends, try to use this phrase this week and try to listen, right? And start listening for some of these common forms. And as you do, I think you'll start to hear them and it'll really start to click. Okay, thanks.